Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dive into a huge, complicated idea, the metacrisis. But we'll do it using a really simple metaphor. Think of it this way. Our entire civilization is on a massive ship, and we're sailing straight into a storm. The big problem? The captain is refusing to look up from a dashboard that keeps saying everything's just perfect. So let's get on board this ship, the SS Global. The captain, you can think of that as our leadership, our whole economic system, is completely glued to the control panel. And yeah, the numbers look great, growth, profit, efficiency, but in the process, they are completely ignoring what's actually happening right outside the window.
All right, so first up, let's actually look at what the captain sees, that dashboard. This is the official story, the business as usual mindset we're all told to believe in. It's a story that relies on metrics we all know, even as the world outside is changing in some really dramatic ways. On one hand, the dashboard promises us this glittering future, right? Endless growth, prosperity for everyone. But on the other hand, there's this growing, gnawing feeling for so many of us that something is deeply wrong, that the official story doesn't match our lived experience at all. So what's the logic behind this dashboard anyway? Well, it's an economic model that, as one ecologist puts it, is basically a social construct. It's like this fantasy world where the economy is just this perfect, self-contained loop of money, completely disconnected from the actual environment and the society it depends on. It has no real basis in the physical world. Okay, so enough with the glowing dashboard. Let's do what the captain won't. Let's look out the window, because while he's busy celebrating record profits, there is this massive, interconnected storm of global crises gathering right on the horizon.
And what we're seeing out there, it's not just one problem. The sources we're looking at have a name for it, the metacrisis. It's not just a single storm. It's more like a perfect storm, where ecological, social, and economic crises are all crashing into each other and making each other worse. And this is the thing you really gotta get. None of these crises are happening in a vacuum. You can see it right here. Ecological breakdown, well, that fuels economic instability. Social fragmentation gets way worse when people feel a loss of meaning. They are all tangled up together, feeding on each other. And check this out. This is a perfect and, frankly, kind of scary example of what we're talking about with these feedback loops. As ice melts, the darker ocean absorbs more heat, which causes even more warming, which melts more ice. At the same time, as the ground dries out, trees die off and release greenhouse gases, which also increases warming. It's a dangerous self-reinforcing cycle.
So the big question is, why is the captain steering us straight into the storm? To figure that out, we have to go deeper than just the dashboard. We need to take a look at the ship's original blueprints, the foundational stories our civilization is actually built on. See, what the sources are telling us is that this isn't just a string of bad luck or some poor management decisions. These crises are actually just symptoms of a much deeper problem, a flawed worldview, an old great story that is now leading us straight toward disaster. And this old story, it's basically built on 4 big ideas, or pillars, if you will. First, that humans are separate from and better than nature. Second, that our whole purpose is to dominate and control it. Third, that we can somehow have endless economic growth on a planet with finite resources. And finally, that material wealth is the ultimate goal. I mean, this is the blueprint that built our modern world. Okay, so where does this flawed story lead? Well, it creates this massive toxic disconnect. It's how we end up just completely ignoring the planet's own flashing red warning signs. One source has this incredible term for it. They call it gaslighting the biosphere. Think about it. The Earth is literally screaming at us with heat waves, floods, and extinctions. And our economic system, the captain, essentially pats it on the head and says, "You're fine. You're just being dramatic. Stop overreacting." And if you want to see that story of domination in a single number, here it is, 96%. That's the percentage of all mammal life on Earth by weight that's either us or our livestock. Wild mammals, they're just a tiny 4% sliver. We've squeezed almost all other life to the absolute margins. And if you want to see what that endless growth story really costs, look at this number, 4.4. That's how many Earths we would need if everyone on the planet consumed resources like a person in a typical Western country. Our blueprint for success is literally a physical impossibility. So is there another way? Well, this slide lays out a really neat comparison. We have the Titanic, this huge, fragile, globalized system obsessed with GDP. Or We could aim for something more like the schooner, a smaller, more resilient, localized model that's actually focused on human and ecological well-being.
So you've got this flawed blueprint, right? This broken story, this almost willful ignorance of the storm brewing outside. All of it leads us to the final, unavoidable danger. The iceberg, dead ahead, that the captain just refuses to see.
And that iceberg has a name. It's the huge elephant in the room that almost nobody wants to talk about. Ecological overshoot. It's the simple, kind of terrifying fact that our civilization is using up resources way faster than the Earth can ever replenish them. This, right here, is the physical root cause of the entire Metacrisis. And this is where it gets really chilling. The sources conclude that the whole myth of infinite growth, it isn't just a bad map leading us towards the iceberg. It is the iceberg. And our ship isn't just approaching it, we've already hit it. Which, leaves us with the final, massive question. The alarms are blaring, you can hear the sound of the iceberg scraping against the hull, and the captain is still staring at the dashboard telling everyone that everything is fine. So how do we, the passengers, take the helm? We have built our world on a high-stakes assumption that our industrial momentum is as unsinkable as the steel hulls we once set into the Atlantic. But the elephant in the room has grown too large to ignore, moving out of our private shadows and into the center of our lives. This is the Metacrisis, the tipping point where the stories of endless growth collide with the physical limits of our planet. It reduces us to passengers, waiting like roadkill on the side of a life we no longer control, paralyzed by the headlines, watching for the next wave to break. Yet, when the ship finally cracks, the passenger's role ends, and the adventurer's begins. The very failure of the old world becomes a direct call to a planetary adventure. This is the invitation to step out of the heavy aura of the past and into the absolute power of the present moment. The Lifeboat Mini Course is your immediate, structured transition, a free 5-day journey delivered to your inbox to transform global anxiety into local resilience. As the unsinkable systems fracture, we must stop asking for permission and start acting as co-creators of the cosmos, mapping a new way forward through our own backyards. Day 1 begins with an audit of the invisible, the energy and water systems you rely on every hour, yet rarely ever see. Day 2 forces a change in your geographical lens, challenging you to locate your true home within your watershed and local bioregion. You won't navigate this terrain alone. You will receive daily study guides and synthesized patterns designed to cut through the noise and reveal the architecture of change. Day 3 asks you to practice active hope in a world facing ecological overshoot. Day 4 introduces the demanding standard of revolutionary love. By tracing the water back to your neighbor's tap, you move beyond the narrow walls of self-help and into the expansive, interconnected practice of systems health. The climax arrives on Day 5 with the introduction of a specific framework for your future, the 9x21 harvest. You will commit to 9 concrete actions to be executed over the next 9 days, weeks, or years to build your cosmic legacy. You will then write the 7-generation letter, speaking across time to a resident of your town in the year 2026 to explain the uncommon choices you made today. This legacy is a unified dance, a work of restoration that cannot be built in isolation. Who is your mutual guiding spirit in this transition, and which 9 things will you choose to do? Stop waiting for the headlines to crush you. Sign up for the Lifeboat Mini Course now. Access your Day 1 materials immediately and join the community hub where the next story of our world is already being written. You can remain tied to the illusion of a collapsing global credit card, or take this course to begin building real systems health today. The Earth is tired of the lie. It is time to dance with the truth.